Hey guys, okay, so we're back with Satisfactory, and this is the second episode, so welcome back. All right, so there are essentially two basic ways to play Satisfactory. I mean, obviously there are thousands of different ways to play it, but at its most basic, there are two ways. You can either um, build everything as you're able to build it and then store it for future use. So, you'll have an extractor that is, or a miner that's building, let's just say, rods and maybe screws. And then you store those away and then you use them for later. And then when you're able to make computers, you start building those and you store those away for later. And that way, whenever you get to something new that you have to build, you've always got the building blocks available to you in order to build it. Now, in order to do that, so if you take a look at what I've got down here, this is my area, well, one of many areas to be honest, that is making copper, things out of copper. And that would be wire, copper sheeting, and cabling, I think is the three. And then I've got those going. You'll notice, so there's kind of a manifold system essentially, which takes them, in fact, you can see it's backed up completely right now, which is problematic. I'll have to fix that. Which will actually bring me into one of the main problems with playing this way. So there are actually two problems with playing this way. The first one is your belt. Your belt, and if I go out here, you can see it better. Your belt, you're limited by what your belt can handle. So I'm on Mark V belts right now, so I can handle 750 per minute. So if I go in and take a look at your logistics, and I look at the Mark I conveyor belt, you will see, maybe I better go back in. Okay. So the Mark I conveyor belt, if you look over here, so the Mark V conveyor belt will hold 780 resources per minute. The Mark IV, 480 resources per minute, 270, 120, and the Mark I conveyor belt will only hold 60 resources per minute. The only way to get around that is to build multiple conveyor belts, which is what I've done here. So I can handle up to 1,500 resources per minute on this manifold system. And you'll see that everything is on this system. So that is because I take it over to my storage system. You can see my storage system right there. And I'm flying around on a hover pack right now, which means I need electricity in order to fly. So every time I get into an area where there's no electricity, you'll see me drop. Now, in an attempt to get around the problems with the manifold system, you'll notice that I've taken things like this and run them directly into my storage facilities. So each one of these I call the bank of storage. And you'll see on the other side I put bulletin boards up so that I know what's in each one of them. And each one of these right now is a bank of 9 industrial storage containers. And we can look and see that this particular one is filled up. So they come in from the top, so they'll come to this one. And then this elevator will take them down to the next one automatically, and down to the next one, which will take them over to this one, and then up and over and down, and then back out the other side. Because when you have everything stored in an area like this, you need to get it out to where it needs to go. And you'll notice all of this infrastructure over here, that's me taking everything back out because it's got to go to where you're going to use it at. And I'm using it way down in the distance down there. Oh, and by the way, I've got both styles of play here. So we noticed that this belt was completely backed up. So what happens is these two belts down here come into this smart splitter system. And I will deal with the smart splitter system in another video later. It looks really, really complicated. It's actually not. And to be honest, the way that it's set up, it's not supposed to be able to back up like this. So I think what I've done, yeah, see, if you see this, there's nothing coming out here. I know what I did. I made a mistake. So what I did was I put this little area in here to make, I think that's making those some sort of frame that I need for one of the things I'm building somewhere else. And when I put these in, that's this little Frankenstein that you see here. I didn't actually put an overflow system. So actually, yeah, no, I didn't put an overflow system. So what happened was this set of storage containers. This you might find this interesting. So, oh yeah, that's because of where it's coming in. So I brought them into, yeah, I should have brought them up higher. So I brought them into the bottom storage container, which means these two storage containers aren't getting used, at least not from that one. And this is the only place I'm making these now, so I should have put it in on the other side. So if you look at this, we got 100, 200, 300, 4, so 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. That's 2,400 of these fused modular frames. And so that's, let's just say 25 for ease of math, right? So that's 25, that's 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 17,500. So I've got 17,500 of these fused modular frames stored up, and that's not including what's on the conveyor belt. I should be using those. Something is backed up further on down in the system. And all of this happened because I circumvented the safeguards over here. There's a bunch of safeguards in this system so that this can never happen. Yeah, see both sides, oh, okay, that's not quite stopped up, but both sides are pretty stopped up right now. And that is the issue that you have to deal with when you're using a manifold system and you're just building everything and storing it until you need it. The other way to play is to only basically make the basics. Like, so this particular area here, all it's doing is making the basics. It's making wire. You can see the wire that it's making right there. It's making cable, and it's making copper sheeting right there. So there's the copper sheeting that it's making. There's a cable that it's making. There's actually that wire is going to cabling. There's the wire. No, that's cabling too. The wire is coming out over here. Okay, so that's the basics. I'm going to say there's some basics that you always want to store no matter what. Okay, and essentially anything that you can put together out of a smelter and a constructor, you want to stockpile that because you're going to need it. You're going to need as much wire, cable, copper sheeting. You're going to need metal pipe. Let me just see this here. Yeah. So you'll notice we need, what is that? Is that pipe? Hold on a second. Let's look at our logistics. Is it logistics? Yeah, our logistics right here. So So iron rod. You're going to need as much iron rod, iron plate, concrete, definitely. Actually, that's another one. So your foundations, concrete and iron plate, you're going to need as much of that as you can store because you are always running out of these. And screws. Screws is another one. As soon as you can build them, start building them and storing them. Oh, and the last one, actually, as soon as you can get to tier 5 conveyor belts, do it. And start making the aluminum sheets as soon as you can. Alcad aluminum sheets. You can see it on the to-do list down there. Because you are going to be using boatloads of those. So the foundation of everything that you're going to do is, pun intended, I guess, is foundations, wires for electricity, and conveyor belts. You're going to need as much of those as possible. So no matter which way you choose to do this, you want to stockpile those particular commodities. Now, Satisfactory is a game of balancing. You are constantly going to have either too much of something or too little of something. So you want to be able to future-proof on both sides. And the first thing that I'll tell you is that if you think you have enough room, you don't. You never have enough room. Now, when you first start out and you're trying to unlock everything, you're going to need to build a lot of stuff in the same area, but just resign yourself to the fact that you're going to have to tear it down at some point, because the longer anything stays up, the more of a spaghetti factory it becomes. And if you think this looks bad, and to be honest, it does look kind of bad, this is like the third time that I've torn it all down and put it all back together. And the first time, it looked so much worse. I could not tell where anything was going. It was pretty bad. So even if you're stockpiling, you're still going to need, as you add new things, you're still going to need to up your production on everything that you do. So as you add new things, like there's an AI limiter that's being made over there, and this is another type of modular frame. I think this one's reinforced modular frames that I'm making here. As you add more and more, what you'll find is it starts taking more of these basics. So in order to make the reinforced modular frames, you'll notice I've got iron plating, I've got screws, I've got something that is out. You'll see I'm out of something. So this is going back to those storage units that you saw over there. And let's just look and see what this is that we're missing here. So we're missing iron rod. See, there's only 15 there. So I'm not producing enough iron rods right now. You'll see them coming down, but ideally I want them backed up just the same as this is, all right? So iron plate, screws, iron rods, these are steel tubes. The next is reinforced iron beams. Those are the copper plates I was talking about. This is actually quick wire. That's another thing that you're going to be using just mountains of. So start stockpiling that as soon as you can, okay? But this takes the most basic components and turns those into, here you'll see them making modular frames, but all of that is so I can get, the heavy modular frames, right? And then that's going to output, and that's sending back to our storage system over there. Over there is where my gunpowder mill is. And let's go down below and we'll see some other stuff. So as I was building the more advanced things, I came down here and I built this. So this whole thing is building turbo motors. I set that up for when I needed turbo motors for the next stage of advancement. And if we go back here, you're going to see the same thing down below. Now, I set this up before some of the new recent inventions, like being able to put your conveyor belts from the roof, and before the new wiring systems were put in place. So you'll notice in some cases I've got, well, I guess here I changed the wiring system all over, but in a lot of places you'll see that I've still got power poles, and these are all still on the ground. So again, you'll see I've got the more basic components. So this is I believe my nitrogen gas, and I had all kinds of trouble with pipelines, so I just circumvented the whole thing. I packaged up the nitrogen gas, or actually my buddy Chris packaged up the nitrogen gas, and then I shipped it down here, and then I unpackage it here, and I take it to where I need it. But again, steel pipe, wire, iron rods, screws, aluminum sheeting, copper sheeting, I believe aluminum casings. These are just quartz crystals. These are the first stage of refinement after you mine them. So again, I've just got all of the most basic of materials down here, and then I literally built everything needed to turn that into all of the interim components. So that's, I believe that's a circuit board. Yep, that's a circuit board there that's making. This one is making our reinforced iron plates. This one is making, I believe those are rotors, and then stators over there. And then those all go into more and more complicated machines until finally you get to the very last one, which is making my turbo motors. And then when you come down here, I did the exact same thing. And the good thing about that is I'm able to use the same basic materials, right? And I just put them in another configuration, and that ends up giving me assembly director systems. Now, it was at this point that I actually started taking off. You'll notice I take off some of the partially finished products. So I started taking some heavy modular frames off of here. And I'm making the heavy modular frames down here, even though I'm making them upstairs also. So I'm kind of using a bit of a hybrid system. And then what I did was I brought all of those down here. And here is where I'm making things basically out of stuff that I've built before. So these are mostly completed pieces, and that actually, you'll notice, so this is another interesting thing that you can do with multiple floors, is I can run all of this down here, and when I go up top now, all you see up top is a couple of elevators coming out of the floor and going into my particle accelerator, and that's making the nuclear pastas that I needed for the very last piece for the space elevator. So, a couple of different ways that you can play, but you are, like I said, no matter which way you decide you want to play, you always want to stockpile the basics. You will, all of those basics you're going to be running out of, and you'll notice, with the number of foundations that you see here, I need 5 concrete and 2 steel plates for every single one of these. And, if you just look at this is just the top layer of this. This goes down like 3 or 4 floors. Actually, this is something I abandoned. I'm going to have to get rid of that. But I was actually going to store nuclear waste down there because it was a real pain in my behind. But I've finally gotten the system up there to get rid of the nuclear waste working. Although I will have to tell you that I haven't really gotten nuclear working. My buddy Chris put it all together. But this is what it's coming out like. This is because of the nuclear, and it's just it's up and down all over the place, and I just can't rely on it. So anyway, um, that's going to be it for today's episode. In future episodes, I'm going to be going through ways to build, the most efficient ways to build things, and starting out from scratch and how to get everything done in the most efficient manner. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.